Hello, and thank you for joining us on this how-to video for the Expanded Student Access Grant Classroom Portfolios. We've heard from the preschool directors that this has been a lift for some classroom teachers, so we wanted to make it as easy as possible. So I'm hoping this quick how-to video will be able to help you make it not be so much of a burden. So make sure that you look back to the notes that were sent in the original email. You can jump to certain parts in the video for the specific help that you need, or you can watch the whole thing. So let's get started. So first, I just wanted to review some of the things that we'll be doing discussing in this video. So first, I'll discuss the difference between a program and a classroom portfolio, the do's and don'ts with your classroom portfolios, what are the requirements, how to make a portfolio in PowerPoint, and then additional ways to make an electronic portfolio if you don't want to use PowerPoint. So first, the difference between the program and the classroom portfolios are that the program portfolio really shows what the plan is for the program across the board. So what assessment you're using, what curriculum you're using, those types of things. The classroom portfolio is evidence of high quality, evidence of the high quality elements in practice. So we can see that the program director's plan for high quality is actually happening in the classrooms. That's why we're wanting to view or have a snippet of what's happening in your classroom. So the goals of a classroom portfolio, we didn't just do this to be a burden. It helps us do three things. So first, it helps us to have a quick peek into the high quality classrooms that we can't get to observe. We're working on other solutions to have the option to observe more classrooms, but until that time, this allows us to have a quick view into what's happening in the classroom. It also allows us to examine the high quality elements and if they are sufficient, or if we have some recommendations to improve that high quality, which is that third bullet, to provide feedback to improve high quality. There isn't a grade on the portfolio. It really is just an opportunity for us to see that what high quality things are happening in the classroom. Okay, portfolio do's and don'ts. So what we do want you to do is condense it into one PDF document. This needs to be electronic because we're all working from home, so that just helps us to gather them more easily. And you can create a physical copy and scan it to create a one PDF document. So computers are not your thing and you just want to create a stack of papers that are your portfolio, feel free to do that, scan it, and then you'll have that electronic portfolio. It would be nice if you would use the table of contents that are provided for the portfolio. I'll show you that in a little bit. And then if you could create a file name in the following format of your program or school district, and then your teacher's name. So an example would be ABC Preschool.Jessica Mackley. So it's really clear whose portfolio we're looking at. So some items on the don't list. Please do not create a fancy PowerPoint that has links and small graphics. We just want a PDF document. We need it to be the same so that it's quick to review and we're not having to hunt for documents. Same thing here with sending the multiple files. We have received some portfolios that come with 10 or 12 documents, and we'll be looking for one or two things and can't find them anywhere and have to spend a lot of time looking through all of the files. Don't overwhelm us with examples, 2 to 3 for each of the items, whether, or if it says a different number, then follow that. But if it doesn't, 2 to 3 is sufficient. And I would mention here that we're wanting to see different types of examples rather than like 3 examples that are the same for 3 different students. So I will again explain that further as we move forward. And don't just create a physical portfolio. If you're going to create a physical copy, that's great. Just make sure you receive help from either your preschool director or someone in your office staff on how to get that scanned and into a PDF document. I hope that's helpful. Okay, we are going to go through the 7 elements of a classroom portfolio. So this will have been sent in the email as well, but it is linked here. I will also be sending the slides. We'll just open it really quickly so you can view it. And this opens you to the preschool resource folder. I will fix that link to send you right where you need to be. which is this file. So right here, you can see the 7 requirements. So that is what you need to look at while designing this. And I will, again, make sure that that is sent with you. Okay, let's jump back to the slideshow. Okay, so here are the classroom portfolio. First requirement, 4 weeks of lesson plans that are showing evidence of the following things. And these 4 things need to be seen on all of them because they are required. So the first thing is alignment to the early learning standards. So you should be leaving a standards reference so it's very clear to us what you are working on. The goal for us is that anyone could walk into your classroom at any time and ask, what standards are you teaching? And you could grab your lesson plan and it would be very easy to see what you're doing. So make sure that's accomplished on your lesson plan. We want to make sure that there's intentional and differentiated instruction happening in whole group, small group, and child-directed learning. So we're going to look for a variety of learning environments on that lesson plan. We want to make sure that adaptations are made to address specific student needs of individuals or groups and range of ability levels. And I will show you some examples of how that can be done. Not every child is the same. Not every child has the same learning needs. And so we want to make sure that you're taking a moment and taking that into account. And then we'll have the explicit instruction in literacy and numeracy skills. We would like, explicit instruction in literacy and numeracy. We would like you to be highlighting these skills, which I will show you now, that are predictors of later academic success. So we want to make sure that these are happening in your classrooms frequently. So we've called them out specifically. So the first page is the literacy skills. You can see there's 7 of them. Second page is numeracy, and there's 5 of them. Now, if you look through these are things that you're doing every day. They should be happening every day. They're pretty common to see in a preschool classroom. So we would just like to see you reference them so we know you have looked at this document and you've looked at what you're doing and that they align. So there's 2 ways you can reference these skills on your lesson plan. You can either leave the reference from here with like L1, L2, or N3 and 4. So it's very clear to us, this is where they're teaching the concepts about print. You can also just list the standard because we are asking for those standards to be referenced. But we would ask that if you're going to leave the standard, that you would add an L or an N to reference that it's a literacy or a numeracy skill. There's lots of standards, and it's going to be pretty tricky for us to go, okay, they hit this here or there by just looking at the standards. So if you can add that L or N, that would be very helpful for us. Let me jump back to the slides one more time. Okay, so that's the first requirement. So now I'm going to show you, one additional thing. If your school district or program is creating the lesson plans for you at the district or program level, that's fine. However, we want to make sure that there is some documentation on those lesson plans that you're doing those adaptations. Every classroom is different, so you shouldn't just be taking a district or program lesson plan and not making any adaptations. You need to look at it, think of your classroom needs, and make changes and notes to help you and your classroom staff meet the needs of students in your classroom. So we are going to go through some of the lesson plans that have been provided to us in the past. None of them are perfect. They're all missing something, but we're going to evaluate them for those 4 components. And we're going to look at these 3 examples that we've received from previous portfolios, and I have removed any identifying information for the program that we received it from. So here is the first one, and I've color coded to hopefully make this easy. So again, those 4 components, are the standards referenced on this lesson plan? Yes, they are. These are referenced to our old standards, so they don't look like the references that you can see now or that you're familiar with now, but you can see that they have indeed referenced the standards, which is great. We know that this teacher is looking at her instruction and the standards and making sure that that instruction aligns with the standards. Then we want to see if there is intentional and differentiated instruction in whole group, small group, and child-directed learning. So at the top here, you can see I have highlighted the large group, small group, and that free choice time center. So we can see that all 3 of those are occurring, which is great. Okay, adaptations. Unfortunately, this one does not show any adaptation. So this would be a piece of feedback that we as program staff would provide back, that on here, is there no accountability for so-and-so might need some additional help. Sally is doing great with her ABCs and might need more of a challenge. There's nothing like that on here. So an easy way to add that would just put on the lesson plan a little line of scaffold and extend. How can you scaffold this lesson to help those children that need additional support? And how can you extend the lesson for those that need more of a challenge? An additional way to add adaptations is to list the child's name or the child's initials and put what support or extension they may need. And then the last one is explicit instruction in literacy and numeracy skills. So you can see at the top, they have literacy and numeracy skills called out, as well as in the box for day one, you see the letter review, and they're working on rhyming and the new letter, which is all great. So we can see from this lesson plan that literacy and numeracy instruction is indeed happening. However, there's no reference to those literacy and numeracy skills, and so it's going to be hard for us to see that they're actually hitting those essential skills that, again, are indicators of later academic success, that they're hitting those frequently. So we would probably just give partial credit here and provide that feedback that there needs to be a reference to literacy and numeracy. Let's move on to example 2. So this one again looks different. You can see here that the standards are referenced in that purple column. They have the intentional and differentiated instruction for both whole group and small group. However, on this lesson plan, I wasn't able to see any child-directed learning opportunities where the children are playing and staff can engage with them there and provide learning opportunities. However, I might be missing a page. Hopefully on page 2, there is that option. So that would be some additional feedback. Adaptations, you can see here that they did indeed add some adaptations. So there is the support at the bottom and extension. So they can adapt for individual student needs. Explicit instruction, this is similar to the one that we saw before, in that we can see that they're doing math and literacy, they're doing that instruction. However, it's not aligned to those essential literacy and numeracy skills. And so we would give them partial credit and provide that feedback that they need to reference those skills. Okay, last example here, you can see that the standards are referenced in their kind of schedule column with each activity. You can see that they're having intentional and differentiated instruction in both small group and large group and centers, so that they are hitting those. Adaptations, they have minimum assistance and maximum assistance listed here, which is awesome. However, again, if this child needs an extension rather than support, there's not really an option there to cover that. So I would leave some feedback there of let's add extensions so that you're also planning for those students who need more of a challenge. Explicit instruction, same thing. Literacy and numeracy are obviously happening, however, not referenced to the literacy and numeracy skills. We've had some feedback in addition on the lesson plans that some templates we provided in the past don't meet classroom needs, and we didn't anticipate it to. What we would like you to do is be looking at the current lesson plan that you are using, and do you have these elements? If you don't have one or two of them, where on that lesson plan can you add it? You don't need to overhaul it. Just see if you can add a few additional notes on that existing lesson plan. You might have to extend it to 2 pages or 1 page front and back, but it's really crucial that you have that on there and that you and your staff can plan ahead to meet the needs of your students. Okay, so now we're going to review the second element that we'd like to see in our classroom portfolio, which is evidence of using ongoing assessment, which is aligned to the early learning standards, to inform planning and instruction. So this is your pre, mid, and post assessments. This is not the PEEP. Please do not put PEEP information here. PEEP does not have enough information to guide your instruction. PEEP only contains literacy and numeracy skills, and your preschool students need to do more than that. So make sure you're pulling your ongoing assessment data that can be a pre, mid, and post, special ed data, any data that you take with your students ongoing to see their progress. So I kind of reviewed these, but individual assessment protocols could be an example. So an EPS test sheet that you've completed for the student a DOT observation form, individual student records, so you could provide special ed data sheets that you're using, anecdotal notes, records of how students respond to individualized instruction and activities. So if you have teachers that are taking data at tables with those children, that could be submitted. Any record of students' progress, okay? And again, we'd like to see 2 to 3 examples of this, preferably different examples, not different kids with the same thing. So let me show you some examples of that. So this is a test protocol that was completed. You can see all the markings from the teacher. I've removed the student's name, but this would count as one example of ongoing assessment data to guide instruction. This is another example. It's just an Excel sheet where they're keeping track of their students on those skills. This is another quick little protocol where you can tell the teacher has been keeping data on what the child can and cannot do. And then this is another one for a certain skill, and then I have the entire class listed where they're taking data on those letters. So I hope that makes sense. 3 different types of examples, not the same type with 3 different children, preferably. Okay, the third thing we want to see is a list of classroom PEEP administrators and how they were trained to administer the PEEP with fidelity. So if your classroom does not administer the PEEP, if it's district or program staff, then you can just submit a little note here, a little anecdotal that program leadership conducts the PEEP assessment and no classroom staff conduct that assessment. However, if the classroom staff are the ones that are administering the assessment, then we just need to know how they were trained. So this is just a list. You don't need to create or provide any documentation for how, like, that they were indeed trained. The list is sufficient. So this is an example list that I made up with our program specialist name. So you can see that I was trained in August of 2019 at the USBE in-person training. You can see that Jared and Chelsea were trained in the fall of 2019 at a district in-person training. And you can see that Emma is fairly new to our staff and completed the Canvas PEEP training online just this month. So I hope that makes sense. Let's move forward. Okay, so the fourth element is evidence of family engagement and communication between home and school program and parent education opportunities based on each family's circumstances. So this could be a timeline of parent-teacher conferences, documentation for program family nights, emails, parent education opportunities, etc. So here we go. Here's some examples that I have found in previous portfolios. So a newsletter for the classroom can count because you're communicating with families what you're doing and trying to engage them in what you're doing in the classroom. We have an example of a preschool family night on this page. Here we can see a text app that the classroom is using to engage with families. So if you use Remind or Classroom Dojo or any of those services, feel free to submit a screenshot showing that you're using that system. And then here we just have an example of a quick little note home that you send home with the kids to engage those families. So again, you can see that's 4 examples, but they're different examples, not one example for 3 different kids. Okay, we are going to review element 5 now, which is the ECHRS 3 classroom goals. So if you are not familiar with ECHRS 3, it's this yellow book that I've included on the slide. You need to know what it is. So I would contact your preschool director and state that you do not know what ECHRS 3 is and have them give you a little introduction. If you're on the grant, then you're up for observation from us as state specialists coming to your classroom. And if we come, this is the tool we're going to be using. So you want to be familiar with it so that your classroom can do well and your program can do well. So you do not need to have had an official observation from a state specialist in order to come up with classroom goals. You can simply review the tool on your own and find areas of improvement that you could do in your classroom. And so these are 2 examples that I created for you. So for the first goal, we can see that this classroom has a math, art, and dramatic play interest centers for their kids to interact with. They would like to add a music and a block center. They're going to work with their supervisor to purchase the needed materials and work with their coach to rearrange the classroom to provide adequate play space. That's goal 1. Goal 2, The classroom has many items displayed for the children to view, but does not currently have children's individualized artwork displayed. They will create 3 spaces to display individualized artwork: the bulletin board, the cupboard doors, and then the wire with the clothespins by the wall. They will also work to engage students in the art center to create that artwork, as well as invite them to bring artwork from home. So those are 2 examples of simple goals that you can review, that you can gather from just reviewing the tool. Okay, the next one, item 6 of 7, we're almost done, is just a sample of kindergarten transition plans for students. So these are 3 examples that I found in the portfolios that were submitted to us. So you can see we have a kindergarten roundup poster that the program or district is running to help students become familiar with kindergarten and kind of reduce some of that anxiety. You can also see the kindergarten readiness, Kindergarten Here We Come pamphlet that USBE created, that programs are distributing, or the classroom is distributing to families, as well as the student snapshot that the teacher can complete and send to the kindergarten staff. I would just mention here that I have a blank form because I am not working in a classroom, so I don't have a completed one. However, we would prefer that you guys are showing that you have completed forms to show again that plan is actually in action and happening. It's not just the plan that the district has provided. Okay, and element 7, last one, this should be fairly easy. So it's just asking for a copy of the lead teacher certification. So again, the certification for the grant is that they have a minimum of a CDA, which is here on the slide, or a degree in a related field. So that will be an associate's or bachelor's in a related field, things like early childhood education, preschool special ed, elementary education, family and consumer sciences or studies. Those are things that we consider a related field. So I provided 2 examples here. One is a teaching license that you can't get unless you have a degree in education, which is a related field, so that would meet the requirement, as well as a certificate of the CDA. So you would just need to copy and place that into the electronic portfolio. If you are a lead teacher who currently does not meet the requirements of the grant, you can just submit a small narrative here on what you're doing to meet that. So whether you're enrolled in a CDA course or enrolled in a program at higher ed, trying to get a degree, we just would need a little narrative here stating how you're working to fix that and to align with the grant requirements. Okay, that is the end of the requirements. We're now going to dig into making it in a PowerPoint and in some other electronic tools. So there's a couple ways that you can combine PDFs. You can combine files into one PDF. You can, first of all, just create a document in Microsoft Word or PowerPoint by copying pictures or pages from your portfolio and putting them in there and then saving it as a PDF. I prefer to work in PowerPoint because you don't have to fight the margins, and with images and text, it's really easy to get them exactly where you want, as opposed to Microsoft that's always wanting to keep it in a print format. You can also scan, like I said, your print portfolio using your iPhone Notes app or Adobe Scan, or again, any copy or scan machine that's at your school. And then you can also use Adobe to organize pages. So if you have multiple files, you can pull them all into Adobe Pro and click the Organizing Pages option and shuffle them around. I won't be showing you how to do Adobe today, Adobe Pro. I will, however, link a YouTube video that can kind of give you some how-to directions on that. And then one more little piece before we go into me giving you a tutorial of this. I just wanted to highlight that I do use these keyboard shortcuts, which come in very handy. And as a teacher, I didn't know them. which is kind of silly, but you might not know them either, but they come in very handy. So Control C is copy, Control V is paste, Control X is cut, and Control Z is undo. So you need to hold those two keys together in order to do that action. So you won't be seeing me right click for copy or paste or cut very often and just know I'm using the keyboard shortcuts. But if you want to use the right click option, that works too. Just know that you're not going to be seeing me do that on the slides. Okay, I think we are good to go. So let me get our PowerPoint up. Okay, I'm going to show you how to change the orientation in PowerPoint. I have created a classroom portfolio starter, and if you open that document, I've already changed the orientation, so it's ready to go for you. However, if you've already started working on this and have it in landscape and are trying to figure it out how to switch it, I will show you. I will say you can keep it in landscape. I would just caution that you need to make sure that we can see and read all the documentation clearly. I would recommend that you change it to portrait since the majority of our documentation is in that portrait orientation. So to change this, we're going to go to design, and then over here on the top right hand corner, you're going to go to slide size, go to standard. This gets us closer to like an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Then we're going to go back to slide size, go to custom slide size, go to portrait, hit OK, and then we're going to click ensure fit. So you can see here that we are still in PowerPoint, but now our slide is the portrait orientation and it's ready to go. I'm also going to show you how to use the snipping tool. So you can see I have it pinned down here in my toolbar. However, you can find it by just typing in snipping tool. We're going to open it. When you open it, it looks something like this. If you've never used it before, it might open in the freeform snip. This means that you have to draw the shape that you would like to snip it. 9 times out of 10 or more are using the rectangular snip mode, which just allows me to take a screenshot like this. So we're going to use that in making some of our portfolio. If you are using a Mac, they don't have this snipping tool, but there is a way to use a snipping tool equivalent, and I've linked that in the original email that you received. Now let's open up the starter file and I will show you what it has. Okay, this is the classroom portfolio starter. It has our table of contents, and then it has kind of headline pages for each section. You'll also see on this first slide or first page that I've created these little black boxes. These are if you have student names on your materials that you're submitting in. You can feel free to copy it in these, so Control C, and then I can go to a different page and paste it on there, move it over the name, and drag it to whatever size I may need to cover that name. This is not a requirement. However, it is best practice. We're going to be very careful with these portfolios. We're not going to distribute them. However, if you have the time to quickly blot them out with the black, that would be great. Or if you're doing a print portfolio, throwing a Post-it on it or a black marker before you scan it, that would also meet the needs. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do after I've opened the classroom portfolio starter is save this file. So I'm going to hit save a copy, and I'm going to change the name here again to that file format that I wanted. So I'm going to do we'll do 1, 2, 3 preschool, Jessica Mackley, and save. Okay, here we are. So now I can make the changes that I need to make. So the first thing I need is lesson plans. So the requirements ask for 4 weeks of lesson plans. So I'm going to add some slides in here. I've previously saved a photo of those lesson plans. So again, you could take pictures of your lesson plans on paper and email them to yourself and then upload them here. Or if yours are electronic, you can save them as a PDF or just take a snip tool of them and add them in. So this device, we are doing the lesson plan, which is this page. Okay, so I've added it in here. Now, something that's really helpful to us as reviewers is to make sure that you make it cover the full page so that when we're reviewing, it is nice and big and we don't have to have a question about what is covered there. Okay, we asked for 4 copies, so I'm going to add 4 examples, excuse me. So I'm just going to add, this lesson plan 4 times because I'm not a real teacher and I don't have 4 lesson plans handy. But you would add 4 separate weeks of the lesson plans, and I would make a note that they should have the date on them so we can tell it's 4 different weeks. Okay, so that is lesson plans. We've met that requirement. Ongoing student assessment is our next item. So I'm going to come up here and hit some, I'm going to click under it to make sure that the new slides go where I want them to go. And I'm going to add some slides here. Ready to go. Okay, I again have taken pictures of these before. So I can go into my insert pictures from this device and find those assessment pictures. Here's one. And then I can insert 2. And I put it on the wrong page, so I'll just cut that real quick and paste it over here. Again, making it big. And we asked for 2 to 3 examples. I don't have those saved, however, I know they're in that other slideshow of mine. So let's go back to our original slideshow. Here's some additional examples. So I'm just going to select here. I'll show you how to do a snipping tool. So I select the snipping tool, hit new, select it. Okay, again, I can hit this copy or I can hit Control-C. Come back to this PowerPoint and we want slide 10, paste it in there. You don't have to delete these boxes when you add a new slide. When you save to a PDF, they won't show up. They, however, drive me nuts, so you'll see me delete them. And then another example, so we're gonna go back to that slide. Here's a 3rd example. This is already an image, so I'm just gonna copy it and paste it into this document. Now you'll notice that these 2 are landscape orientation. I can see them pretty well, and clearly I can read the information on them as they are. If this would be too small, I would prefer that you just rotate them like so, make them big. And then when it's saved as a PDF, we can rotate the slides. If you know how to rotate them in Adobe PDF, please do so. Again, it might be in that other linked video that I will be sending. But I'm just going to keep it like this because that's sufficient. Okay. DeepAdministering Testing. So this table that I have for this is in another document. So here's my other document. You can see that I have my table for the PEEP administrators in my classroom. So I'm going to take the snipping tool here, hit new, copy that box, and add a slide, and Control-V to paste. Make it big so the reviewers can read it clearly. Done. Ecker's 3 classroom goals. This one, the text is in a Word doc. So you can see this here. I'm going to select the text, Control-C to copy. I'm going to click in here, paste, just do a little bit of formatting. Again, you don't have to worry too much about the blue or red markings. When it turns into a PDF, we won't be able to see those, but if it's driving you nuts, you can come up here to the grammar when you right click and ignore it, and then we'll just put Ecker's 3. Okay, that requirement is now met. Kindergarten transition plans. Again, 2 to 3 examples, 3 slides. I will go over, I have this photo, so I'm just going to copy it and paste it, stretch it. Did I skip? I skipped family engagement. That's where we finished kindergarten transition, and then I will go back. I also have this kinder snapshot that I will copy and bring over. And I think that's it. We could also copy over the portfolio that we saw submitted. There you go. Okay, 3 pieces. Now, we realized that I had messed up and forgotten family engagement. So let's add those 2 to 3 examples there. This just goes to show that when you're working on this, you want to make sure that you fit all 7 requirements before you turn it in. So we have this family night that we already saw. I have the texting app that they use. And then I'm going to copy over the newsletter as well. Okay, let's jump back down to our last requirement, which is the teacher certification. I would just open that file, take a screenshot or snippet, add it in on a new slide, and make it big. Again, it's landscape, but our reviewers would be able to clearly read the information that's on there, so it's fine to keep it in that orientation. If it needs to be bigger, feel free to rotate it. All right, let's go back. I have the table of contents. I have the lesson plans, all 4, ongoing student assessment, family engagement, classroom goals for ECHRs, kindergarten, and teacher certification. So I'm going to go through now and make a note of which slide or page each of these headings is on, and I'm going to come back and add it here. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to go to this window down here, which will show all my slides at once. So it'll be really easy for me to make a quick note of which ones are on which slides, and I can transfer that information to the table of contents. I also wanted to show here that you can move the slides around. So for whatever reason you put things in, you got a little confused. Let's say I accidentally put this kindergarten pamphlet up in family engagement. I can simply drag it to where it needs to go and move things around easily that way. So I'm going to pause the recording for a second, write down these page numbers and put them in. Okay, so here I am where I can see all my slides. I'm going to go back to this normal view down here at the bottom. Bring me here, you can see I've added my page numbers or slide numbers. That lesson plan begins on 2 and ongoing assessment begins on 7. So it's easy for the reviewer to find the material that they're looking for. Again, these black boxes are to remove children's names, not required. It is best practice. I'm going to go ahead and copy this one. I'll show you again. On this assessment, there's a child name up here. Previously blocked it out, but I will paste it and be able to copy out the student's name. Okay. Those are the only places where I had a student's name, so I can go back and I can delete these boxes. Okay, so we are done with our portfolio. It's just now time to save it as a PDF. So there's 3 ways to do this. You're going to hit File. You can see that Windows provides the option to just save as an Adobe PDF. You can click that and it will guide you through the process on where to save it. You can also just save a copy. You can see here that it's a PowerPoint file. By clicking this down options, I can click to PDF and then it will save it as a PDF. That's what I'm going to do. The third way is you can go to print. Every printer, every computer will provide you the option to print to Adobe PDF. You can see that here. If I was to click that and then click print, it would do the same thing as save as Adobe PDF and would prompt me through saving it as a file. Okay, so I saved it as a PDF. So I'm now close these out and I'm gonna go looking for it. Here it is. So what I would do, either you can do this before you save it as a PDF or right after. I forgot to do before, so we'll do it right after. I'm just going to scroll through all of these and make sure that I can read them easily. Some of them are a little blurry, but enough that I can get the information. Again, you just want to make sure that the reviewer can see that you can review it. This one might be a little too blurry. I've copied and pasted these quite a few times, so that might be part of the issue. But if you have something that's really blurry, maybe you just need to take another scan picture of it, that would work. Okay, and then what you would do is you would attach this file to an email and send it to us, or to your preschool director who would send it to us. Okay, I am going to show you now how to scan on your phone in two ways. One will be through the iPhone Notes, and one will be through Adobe Scan. So let me load those up and I will show you. Okay, this first recording is showing how to scan a document through the iPhone Notes app. So you would open Notes and then you're going to hit this camera at the bottom. And then it will give you three options and you're going to click the Scan Documents option. It's then going to open your camera and ask you to get the document in view. So you're going to arrange it. It's going to try and find it. You don't need to select click the button at the bottom. It will take the picture automatically for you. This is me taking a document of two photos. Photo of two documents, excuse me. Take it. Now, you can see that when it did that, it took too much. It took too much of the document or of the photo. And I really wanted to focus on one. So what I'm going to do is come down here to the crop option, and it will let me move those crop lines on the document. They don't need to be perfect, but it does make it look a little better. You just hit done, and then it looks more straight on. So we needed to do that for this document as well. So again, hit that crop button. Move those to where it needs to go. I think I'm going to crop out quite a bit of white space on this one. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect, just needs to be close. And then it's done. Now I'm going to hit done at the top and then cancel. And now it's in my Notes app as a document. So I'm going to click on this document now within the Notes app, and it will provide me with the option to share it up at the top. So I'm going to open share, go to my email, and send it off. You can see that this one automatically took a title from the document of the snack page. So I would probably send this to myself, rename the document, and then send it off to us as reviewers or your preschool director. Okay, that is how to do it in iPhone Notes. Let me show you how to do it in Adobe Scan. Okay, this is going to be very similar. I'm going to open Adobe Scan. You'd have to download that if you don't have it. You can look for the document. Again, it's going to find it for you. and automatically take the photo, very similar to the iPhone notes. Okay, and then I'm going to say, yep, that's great. And I'll hit continue. I could resize the cropping there if I needed to. Then I'm going to go for document 2 here. It'll find it and automatically take the photo. Okay, cropping's a little funky, so I'm going to switch that, fix that right now. And I'm hit continue. Then I'm going to click down here to review my document. You can see the 2 pages. It has a name up here, so I'm going to edit that in a second to make it something that I can recognize. If you're going to just scan your entire print portfolio, if you've done it all on paper and you're scanning the entire portfolio, I again would encourage you to name it your program and your name just there. That would be an easy way to fix that. Okay, and then I'm going to click Save PDF at the top here. Thank you. Okay, and then it's going to bring it up here. I can then hit Share as an option. Then I'm going to share a copy. It also gives the option to share a link. If you choose to do that, they have to have an Adobe account. So if you guys have Adobe accounts through school, I would still suggest doing the share a copy because it will actually share the file. Again, so I share a copy and then I can scroll to my email. It'll open it in another window and I can send it off. The last thing I want to show is these 2 available online tools that can help you combine files into one PDF. So if you have scanned your lesson plans previously or scanned family engagement things or have those files saved as PDFs or have done that, you can combine them all in these documents. You also can do it in Adobe Pro. You can just insert them, which will be shown in the other YouTube video that I'll have attached. But you can also go to one of these 2 tools to do so. So I'll show you one of them. They both function very similarly. So you can see it's merge PDFs. So I can choose files here. I'm going to go to my desktop and I'm going to choose some of these images that I've done. You can hold Control down to select multiple files at once. So it's uploading those, and then it's going to allow me to rearrange my files. So let's say I wanted the engagement first. I can just drag it over here. Okay. Then I can hit Save As and save. It'll take a few minutes to process. Then I can download the file. You can see it downloaded down here. And then I can open it and make sure things are legible. This is getting on the verge of being a little too blurry because again, we've copied so many times. And I have noticed that using this, they do come out a little more blurry, but just make sure that we can read the information and it's good to go. Okay, that is all I have for you. I hope it's been helpful. Again, we don't want it to be a huge burden. So just remember to have 2 to 3 examples. If you hate electronic things, just do it in paper and have someone help you scan the entire stack. But hopefully you've learned some tips and tricks that are helpful and can help you create this in a quick manner. Thank you for all you do and for serving our preschool students. Thank you for serving especially the grant students that have some risk factors and are a little trickier than our typical students. It's very appreciated. We appreciate all you do, and thanks for letting us have a view into your classroom through this portfolio to see what great things you're doing. Thank you.